Good morning and happy Funtastic Friday. We're having fun getting our garden together, right? Now we've talked about planting them. Let's talk about pests, okay? Bugs and weeds in your garden. There are pesticides. People use pesticides all the time. Pesticides will get rid of the weeds. They will get rid of bugs in your garden. There's a lot of things that you can do without actually using a formulated pesticide. There are many sprays that you can even make yourself. There's all kinds of recipes on the internet, so I won't even waste any time trying to describe those right here, but I'll tell you some of the top ones that people use. There's a vegetable oil spray. It's just an insect, keeps the insects off, right? In stop short of scraping them all off, which if it's aphids, it's very hard to do because there's a whole new batch coming up, okay? So it's very hard to just scrape and scrape, which you can do. You're going to spend a long time in the garden doing it. Vegetable oil spray is handmade. It's just a vegetable oil mix with that Dr. Bonner's Castile soap, and it will really take care of aphids, mites, thrips, stuff like that, little bugs you don't want eating the leaves. And you can tell very quickly whether or not you have these kind of pests in your garden, because when you pick up your leaf and you look at it, you'll see them on the bottom, especially underneath in the daylight, because they're shaded from the sun. And they will start eating holes in your leaf. Caterpillars the same way. Caterpillars, we found that we have to pick them off. I haven't really found anything effective for keeping the caterpillars away. So every night we go out there and we pick off the caterpillars. There are soapy sprays. That's where you mix like soap and water, like that Castile soap. You spray it on the leaves, especially underneath. Those work really well for keeping the plants safe from bugs. It's like neem oil too, a neem oil spray. And what it does with neem oil, I'd follow the instructions on the bottle, and it takes a few days for it to actually start working. But these particular sprays, what they do is they kind of choke out the insect. The insect, I guess, they breathe through their side, and when the soap and oil goes in there, it clogs it up, and they can't breathe, and they can't breed either. So that's one way to get rid of all these sprays. Go right to the infected area on the plant. You can even spray the leaves. Like I said, I would spray the underneath side of them just to be safe. Um, there's also something called DE. Now I'll try to pronounce what the actual name is. It's Dectromyces earth. It's actually made from shells, the coral reef, and it's mined. I was reading an article that said that it's in over 1/3 of the world in the ground. But it's a powder-like substance. There is edible. People do eat this to help clean out their systems and stuff. But if you sprinkle this right onto the ground, it's an abrasive. So what it does for to the bugs is they walk across it with their little exoskeleton. It gets on them and it rubs up inside them, and then effectively just rubs them until they are dead. And which is sounds really bad, but you want to keep the bugs off the plants because you can't possibly have enough plants to go around for the bugs as well. They breed really fast on there. Then there are some sprays that work, for instance, as repelling things. They don't really cause problems for things, but I've heard of garlic spray being used or chili pepper spray. Those, but like I said, those are more repellents. A lot of times they'll keep out bunnies or skunks or more gophers. But we even had gophers eating onions, so I don't know how you can not have a gopher eat an onion and spray chili pepper down and then have them not be attracted to that. There's another thing you can do. Beneficial bugs can be added to your garden. I know bugs you think are not beneficial, but there's a lot of bugs that are beneficial. There is a warning here though. If you are using the other treatments, do not put in beneficial bugs, because the treatments that I talked about, that the DE down on the ground, will hurt the beneficial bugs as well. Okay? So use one and then use the other. Try the beneficial bugs first. If that doesn't work, then try the other things to suffocate them, or to the DE on the ground. So here are some of the beneficial bugs. Ladybugs. Ladybugs are awesome for your garden, right? Praying mantis. awesome for your garden. They eat other bugs, so they're really good to have in there. And for keeping out rabbits and possibly other rodents, I have heard of people using fake snakes and fake owls. The thing you want to remember here, though, is to move them around, because if the snake's always in the same place, the rabbit's going to go, hey, there's something wrong here, right? And another bug you do want in your garden are bees. Bees help your plants pollinate. And if their plants aren't all open pollination, which means that they'll just be pollinated, if they have to have another type of plant just like them to be pollinated, the bees will transport the pollen from one plant to the next, from one bud to the next. And that helps generate the pollen and helps generate the growth spurt in the blooms, and then that's where you get your fruit. I always told the grandkids when they were over, one flower, one fruit, right? Whatever it was. So on weeds, when we're talking about weeds for your garden, as Ralph Waldo Emerson says, what is a weed? A plant whose virtues have not yet been discovered. I love that quote. So anything growing where you don't want it to grow, it takes the nutrients, the water, the sunshine away from the plants you do want to grow. So that, in effect, becomes a weed in your garden, okay? And the best way to handle weeds is to pull them out. And the best way to do that is to daily just go through the garden as you're watering or as you're making your nightly pass looking for pets. Pick out those weeds that you see that aren't, if you're not sure that it's a weed, and we've had this happen before because I wasn't sure if one of the kids planted something in that spot, I put a little marker down with a question mark. Is that a weed or is it not? And I watch for it for a couple of days. After a week or so, if it's not looking like the rest of the plants that I planted in that box, then it gets pulled. And that's okay, right? So some people I've heard in my gardening class lay down in their big beds that landscaping cloth. Okay, so basically it helps in a couple ways. One way is it helps warm the bed, especially in colder areas like our place. We were at 6,000 feet up there. So we had a very short growing season and we needed to get the ground warmer faster, and that helped. When they put down the landscaping cloth, then they covered it with some soil and they cut out only where they wanted the plants, and that's the only plant that they planted however far apart it was. Some of them swore by it. They said it worked really well. We didn't try it. Landscaping cloth can be kind of expensive, but if you got a small garden and you want to try it, that might help cut down on the weeding. Well, that's what we have for today. If you have any questions, you can always email at becky@synergyforpeace.org. Happy gardening.